Isn't it somewhat true, that thought is more interested in the activity of thinking itself than solving any of the stories it's trying to point to find out? It's almost like thought if every activity, and an activity is at first thinking, if every activity is simply to try and find happiness, then the intention of a thought itself is generally seeking an outcome, isn't it? It's seeking understanding or an outcome or a solution, or to get somewhere, to bring about something. If I think, shall I have fish and chips or shall I have pie and chips? Right? When I'm asking those things as a bit of research, as an inquiry into, well, which one should I have? And the desire is for the answer. I'm looking for the answer to the question. And when the question appears, actually it feels like I might like a pie today because I had fish the other day. Then I come to the realization, I would like a pie. And then the whole structure of that inquiry, of that thought structure, evaporates because understanding has been reached. This is the same of any type of understanding. When we don't understand, there's always more and more questions. And that people get upset purely because there's some information they don't have. So if you're trying to help people, or if you're trying to find things out yourself, try and find the piece of information you don't have, or try and locate what that information is that you need. Someone says to you, oh, you can't do that. You can't do A, B, and C. Until you say, why is that? You don't fully understand, do you? You just feel restricted and inhibited because you just feel limited. Your liberty is restricted. But if they say, because you'll burn your hand off if you put your hands in the fire, if that was what they told you not to do, then of course you have the whole picture, don't you? When understanding is reached, emptiness is experienced in the mind. Now, of course, emptiness to a thinking mind leaves it nothing to do. But what happens to the thinking infrastructure, the monkey mind, when it has nothing to do is it perceives understanding in emptiness or meditation as its end, its death. It's got nothing to do. So it will create a thought into the emptiness to have, not because it wants the answer to the thought, it just wants to fill the void up. So when we sit and meditate, especially when we're new at meditation, within 6 to 9 seconds, a thought arises, and generally the first thoughts are a review of how well the meditation's going. Now, the thinking mind, being defaulted generally by shame and fear and a sense of its own unworthiness, the thought will be, I'm not doing it properly, I'm not doing it very well, I haven't mastered it, I'm rubbish at this, I can't do it. Although, there's kind of an emotional impact from that, but really it's just filling up the space with noise. This is why in an age of mobile phones, we pick our phones up, I think it's something like every 28 seconds or something. And we've got no intention of finding out why we want to look at it, we just pick it up. And nothing's changed. It just becomes a behavioural and attitudinal fixation and addiction and attachment to something that actually has no point to it. It's just a distraction in the moment. But we all know that fixation of thought, don't we? And we know, don't we, that our world and our hospitals and our institutions and our wars and our politics and our own lives are full of experiences of acting on thoughts, having thoughts, not even acting on thoughts, although acting on thoughts as well, but experiencing the mental world of our own lives as really quite challenging and difficult and dangerous. A war is at first a thought in someone's mind about an attitude, about a group, about a tribe, about a belief. The whole mental framework of living and reason and knowledge and rational thinking has created amazing things like cars and aeroplanes and cheese and such, and war and destruction and hatred and loathing. These are all at first thoughts. and that our predicament is somewhat that we take thinking, especially in this day and age, post-millennial, post-modern age, we take thinking and reason and rationality and intellect to be our God, really. But the tide of that understanding is shifting. I'm not saying there's a great swathe and everything's going to be better, but there's a movement in the ocean of the human experience. Because that thrust of knowledge and understanding and intellect has reached a kind of zenith. You know, when you've got the minds of some of our current political leaders, like we're currently able to see right through the fallacy that reason is everything. Look who's leading to, this country and the so-called most powerful country in the world. Aren't we seeing that it's obvious that some of that isn't best practice for someone who should be leading with love? So, it's hopeful.